Peace and love, everyone. I'm Royce Fletcher Thomason here for another Sunday Hope and Healing session. Our focal point for today is healing for families. Healing for families. And I feel like this is an important topic. It seems to be a theme that's been that's been coming up. Um, and so this is what we're focusing on for today. I really strongly feel like a lot of the issues that we have in the world is largely connected to breakdowns within families, um, challenges that exist within families, the breaking down of families. And so we're here today where we'll be focusing on healing for families. If you would like some healing for your family, I definitely want to encourage you to, um, invite anyone and everyone that you know who you feel like could benefit from that to this broadcast today. Whether you're sharing a link on Facebook or you're texting somebody a link for the live on YouTube. And so, uh, why healing for families? My gosh, there's so many things connected with it, right? A lot of who we are as people is tied to our family of origin. A lot of who we are and our view of the world, our view of ourselves, our view of relationships, our perspectives on things in terms of issues of abandonment or issues of entitlement, um, feelings of betrayal. A lot of those things are tied to experiences that we've had within the family. Not to mention uh, intergenerational curses, things that have been passed down from one generation to a next, things that relate to congenital diseases that are passed down from one generation to another, largely connected to memories, traumas, and other things stored within the DNA. Uh, Unhealthy patterns that exist within families systems, and within families that end up being passed down. Those patterns end up being passed down from one generation to a next until that pattern is broken, until there's real healing that takes place. And so that's what we're focusing on today, is the healing. And uh, if you are a human, you've had a family. Even if you haven't had a family, you've got stuff connected with things related to your family. Even if you were adopted at birth, there are some things going on as it relates to family. Even your biological family, blended families, broken families, all types of different things. We're going to kind of be addressing that general broad topic today, and we're going to focus on on healing. Okay, and greetings, peace, blessings, and a whole bunch of love to everybody who's here with us today. If you would just drop us a comment, whether you're here on YouTube or Facebook, letting us know who's here. We're always grateful to know who's present with us, and it still is not the same as being in person with people sitting here looking at this computer screen, not knowing who we're actually reaching. But it's certainly a blessing to have some idea of who the actual human beings on the other side of the screen, wherever you might be in the world. So if you would drop a comment, just saying hello or something, we again certainly appreciate that. And so I'm not going to do a whole lot of talking today. I'm going to really put more of the emphasis on the actual healing itself. We do healing, and this hope and healing session. The whole idea is for healing to be made available, and that healing can manifest in terms of physical healing. It can certainly manifest in terms of other areas of our lives, really any area of our lives. And so the focal point for today is dealing with families and all of the things that are really kind of tied to that in one way or another. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to get started with a prayer. Dear God, whose wisdom vaster than the entirety of the universe, and whose love can never be blotted out, whose love is faithful and continuous, whose power extends beyond anything that the human mind can even begin to conceptualize. We know you to be a healer, a redeemer, and we acknowledge in this moment that there's nothing, there's no breakdown, there's no deficiency, there's no turmoil, there's no trauma, there's no problem that extends beyond your healing power. Today we lift up families, and I'm praying on the behalf of my own family and the families of everybody who's tuned in to this live broadcast, whether now or catches it on a playback. And God, I come forth as a vessel of on the behalf of all of us, neutralizing the root cause of all family dysfunctions, root cause and cumulative effects, in fact, of all dysfunctions within the family, all misunderstandings, all expressions and manifestations of toxicity, of feelings of abandonment, betrayal, disappointment, the root of all trauma bonding manifested in present and future relationships, all forms of low self esteem, distrust, and expectation that the bottom is going to fall out at any moment. And addressing those things from the point of the very root cause, from the moment that it first happened and stored in whatever cells of the body, even on the cellular and subcellular level, memories and baggage stored within the DNA, even within the quantum field, throughout the entirety of our family history, past, present, and future. And transmuting those things into a sense of wholeness, a sense of true wholeness and safety and security that's rooted in a solid yet very healthy foundation, and manifesting forward, and even going back through the annals of time. And I bear witness to wholeness in families, sense of well-being in families and family relationships. On this date and in this time and space called now, I thank you, God, that it is so. And I affirm it is done. It is done. It is done. In Hashem Yeshua HaMashiach Shea and Amen. All righty. My brother Spencer Murray, good to see you in the space. And everybody else who is here, good to have you in the space today. And so I want to, this first image just jumped in my mind, two different things from two different television shows. One, I don't even recall consciously the name of it off the top of my head, but it dealt with feuding families. And another thing that came up was actually the show Family Feud, but it was connected to the idea of feuds existing within families. For those whose religious affiliation is within the Abrahamic traditions, which includes Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, that's a root issue. That's a big issue that that has been present. Abraham was promised, was promised children and a long lineage of children. Gino, good to see you here, my brother. The Hatfields and the McCoys. Thank you, Spencer Murray. I appreciate that. Yeah. But Abraham was promised this long lineage of children, and he was up in old age as well as his wife, Sarah, and they hadn't had those children for Sandra. Good to see you in this space. Much love to you today. And the reality is that their faith was wavering. Sarah made the suggestion to Abraham to go on to this young chocolate drop that was their handmaiden, and to lay with her and to have a child with her, which happened. And they had a child that extended beyond that family unit of Abraham and Sarah. And Ashtar gave birth to Ishmael. And it wasn't long before there ended up being some problems, and Sarah, the wife, started having issues with excuse me, I said Ashtar, I meant Hagar, with Hagar, the handmaiden, and told her husband, listen, you're gonna have to get rid of this woman and her child. Never mind the fact that it was also Abraham's child as well. But what ended up happening was that Abraham sent off Hagar and his child, Ishmael, and out of that family lineage of Ishmael was the religion of Islam born. And they ended up eventually Abraham and Sarah ended up having a son as a function of their union, Isaac. And really, to this day, fighting that's going on in the Middle East between Jews and Muslims. And by the way, just as a side note, I want to put a movie recommendation out there. Just mentioning this made me think of it. If you get an opportunity to, I want to encourage you to check out the movie You People, which is on Netflix. You People on Netflix. it certainly deals with some interesting family dynamics and such. But I encourage you to check out that movie if you haven't already. But in essence, what we're seeing even happening today on large scale things is really the result of family dysfunction and one essentially one child feeling kind of put off and and the other child, the other side of the family, not really kind of quite getting that. And, and so uh, really, it's been multiple millennia of kind of infighting between the families. That's really what that's rooted down to, and that shows up in our actual lives. A reality is that more than 50% of marriages end in divorce. Uh, and I'm even one who's contributed to that statistic. Uh, and so let's deal with the root of all feelings of being put aside or feeling greetings, Rhonda Jackson, of feeling not prioritized. And this is even in families where the mother and father are both present in the home. There are issues that happen just within the family dynamic in terms of birth order. There are different things that can happen there. Um, some feeling favored over others, or some feeling less valued than others. It happens, whether people intend for that to happen or not. It definitely happens. And again, there's biblical reference for that in terms of uh, Joseph and his brothers. Um, Again, family issues passed down. Um, you know, uh, so let's deal with. Let me deal first of all with who this might touch in some way to really receive this in your heart. And if you don't feel like it fits you, chances are it fits somebody in your family. And I encourage you to open up the spaces in your heart of compassion for those who might be struggling with something different than what you might be struggling with. Okay. A curly conscious king, greetings and much love to you as well, brother. Good to have you in the space today. All right. So in fact, what's up, Oh? Good to have you in the space as well. Um, let's actually deal with challenges in the family. Ooh, that's an issue. How many people go through life not being seen? And you know, you turn on TikTok or YouTube or go on social media, you're going to see a whole bunch of manifestations of people doing things to get attention. They're doing things to get attention because there's some void where they weren't feeling quite seen, right? And generally that is rooted in some kind of family dynamic, right? Okay. And so let's deal with this thing of not being seen. And I feel like this is something that goes back many, many, many generations. Okay, as the number 162 is coming up for me. So we're going back many generations in terms of the experience of not feeling seen. And that thing can kind of be passed down from one generation to another, to another, to another, to another, to another. And let's deal with this concept of not being seen for who a person actually is. Mm, okay. A lot of times, context of our relationship to them or how we impact them. Uh, but a lot of times, people don't necessarily feel seen for who they actually are as an individual being. Okay. And so let's deal with that. Whole thing of feeling unseen, and feeling unseen, kind of something that goes along with that, is not feeling valued. Okay. Every life matters. So we want to kind of boost that up in terms of the feeling seen, feeling heard. And even though my internet is the computer that I'm on is hardwired to the internet, seems like the screen keeps freezing. So my apologies for that. Feeling seen, feeling heard, want to boost all of that up. And feeling valued. Feeling valued, not just for what they do, feeling valued for who they are. And not just who who one is in the context of their own beingness. Yeah, let's boost that up. Okay. Want to deal with I want to deal with fetal trauma, of things that happened and were experienced and heard while even in the womb, in terms of arguments between parents, things in terms of um, pain and um, any type of emotional turmoil that may have happened uh, for the mother um, while one was actually in the womb. Okay. In terms of fear, in terms of confusion, we want to transmute that fear into faith of everything working out, and a sense of feeling safe and secure. Anxiety, we're going to transmute into peace. And in reality, we're addressing these things that have taken place in the womb, and we're going back many, many generations. Uh, we're doing this healing in the now, where we're addressing past moments in this thing that we call time. All right, as well as going forward. All right, in terms of our ancestral lineage, in terms of our family lineage, going both back many, many, many generations back in time, as well as from us going forward. Okay, that was a big number. I don't really need to speak to it, but we're addressing this healing for future generations going forward as well. All right. All right. Want to look at, um, let's deal with all issues related to um, not feeling enough. Okay. I got this necklace on. I haven't pulled it out lately. I always have it on when I'm broadcasting. Pretty much, I have it on essentially every day. Um, but it says on it, well, it only says love never fails, but that's in the context of the unconditional love of God, love that's filled with grace, of it being patient, kind, and um, that it doesn't, um, it's not seeking its own way. It's not rooted in selfish desires, but it's always aiming to bring benefit, to bring value, to bring blessings. Okay. Okay. It's not what envy is all about. Okay. A lot of times there's envy that can happen within families. And let me something else that's coming up real quickly that I want to address is um, cookie cutter approaches to parenting. You may feel like consciously or maybe even very deeply subconsciously, you may feel like you are parented in one way, but the way that you're parented was just kind of a more generic approach to parenting rather than you being able to get fulfilled the specific needs that you had, whatever those might have been, and whatever your genuine, authentic needs were, feeling those needs going unmet. And we want to deal with the entirety of your family, not just you, but your entire family, not just the ones who are living now, but going back many generations in time and going forward many generations in time. All right. So I want to also kind of boost this thing of feeling enough. A lot of the things that we do, a lot of the things that we do are manifestations of, on some level, self sabotage, uh, things that we do that we feel like we need to do, maybe to get attention, maybe to get love, maybe to be noticed. A child will misbehave in order to get attention because even the negative attention they feel deep down inside is better than not being seen or not being recognized at all. Okay. Guess what? When people grow up, that still manifests in one's behavior, right? One would think that that would be something that we outgrow. In our intellectual thinking, we would think that that's something we outgrow. And the reality is that there are many people 80 and 90 who are still that way because there is an unmet need of feeling enough just the way you are. Now, our reality is that we all have room to grow. We don't want to negate that there's room for growth and that it's appropriate to be continually endeavoring to be the best versions of ourselves that we can possibly be. And at the same time, it's also very, very important that we know that who we are right now is enough. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. Those two things aren't mutually exclusive. We can be in the process of growing and at the same time uh, feel a sense of adequacy in terms of our beingness in whatever our current state of beingness actually is. And I want to say to you today that you've got some things inside of you that you're still working through. You've got some things inside of you where there are painful experiences that come up sometimes. Sometimes you have painful experiences that aren't even rooted in the present. You think that they're about what's going on right now, but it's just a pile on of unresolved things from the past. And so there's a greater intensity. There's certain buttons that can be pushed that can cause us to go into all kinds of different places, triggering a lot of things from an emotional standpoint that don't feel good. Okay, but generally, in fact, almost always, the intensity of what's being felt in a moment is connected with other things. Okay, and so, like I said, a pile on of things that didn't even necessarily happen in your lifetime, things that could be passed down from one generation to another, although certainly things that have happened in your lifetime show up there as well. And so I want to give us support to be patient with ourselves. It's hard to be patient with another when you're not patient with yourself. It's hard to truly accept another for who they are if you don't truly accept yourself for who you are. It's hard to extend grace to another person if you're not extending grace to yourself. And it's hard to receive grace that's being extended to you if you're not extending that grace to yourself, or if you're not receiving grace from yourself and grace from the source of all grace, uh, which we frequently generically call God. And I say we generically call God because God is really a word that means that which we hold higher than anything else. But there's no single word that can capture the vastness and the supremacy of the source of all existence, which we call God, and which I sometimes just call Daddy. Alrighty. Um, so I wanna look at really continuing to boost this feeling of being enough, feeling heard, feeling seen, and openness to reconciliation. That's a very big one. Openness to reconciliation. I want to look at issues of vindictiveness that might show up within you or anyone else within the family. We want to address that from the root cause. Okay. There's a hole, there's a void from which that vindictiveness came. You know, it's a weed, and every weed has a root. Thing about weeds is they suck the life out of the things that you're really wanting to grow in your life, right? And so we want to address the root of the weed of vindictiveness. And this really is dealing with a sense of lack, sense that there's not enough love to go around, a sense that there's not enough good to go around, there's not enough peace to go around, that there's not enough attention to go around. And guess what? Vindictiveness is a withholding not of love, not just of love from someone else. It's a withholding of self-love. And so we want to uh, bring into the space where the vindictiveness has been. We want to bring love into that space, love of self into that space. Okay. True, genuine, authentic love of self into that space. When we're truly, completely, fully operating in a space of self love, there's not room for animosity or vengefulness or bitterness or resentment. Those things are, when we're operating in a state of total love for ourselves, we we don't let those other things into our vibration. All right. Now, the reality is that we can find some stuff triggered. Some stuff can come up for us where we feel all of these other low vibrational emotional states, right? Um, but let's actually bring love into the experience, whatever life experience ended up being the place where the ground was dug, where the root of those weeds of whatever form of negativity came up. Okay, we're dealing with individuals within the family and within the family itself. Okay, when I look at, let's address family secrets. Okay, there are many people who there's been incest and sexual abuse within the family, and a sense of shame that's connected with that. I want to address that. We want to address that and bring a deep, deep, deep sense of healing and recovery to the place where that damage has existed. We want to shed light on that dark space. And the reality is that all sickness, all dis-ease, all dysfunction is the result of a darkness, a place that isn't being reached by the light. And when we shed light in those areas, it doesn't generally necessarily feel good to have light shed on those areas that can be painful or that can be emotionally disturbing or difficult to deal with or awkward or embarrassing or any of those things, but it's helpful for healing to actually take place. And so we welcome in the light of God's love into the places where those uh, various darknesses have existed, or those things that have been held in the dark, or those things that have been um, tucked deeply away and tried to act as if or treated as if they never happened. Many children, many young people, teenagers also, have experienced forms of abuse that when they shared with their parents, they didn't feel that their parents believed them, or they feel like their parents defended the person who was responsible in the situation, and other forms of abuse. And so we want to resolve that. We want to uh, let's address opening our eyes so that we can see, so that we can see the needs of our family members, so that we can feel that, so the various members of the family, those who are here and certainly included, feel seen in the eyes of other family members. And let's deal with the issue of feeling that one's feelings are invalidated. There's a lot of that. Okay. And we want to actually increase the sense of feeling that one's feelings are valid, even if they're not rooted in what necessarily makes sense to somebody else. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Want to also deal with um, issues related to infidelity. Okay. Want to deal with that. That's a big thing. Particularly, and also issues where infidelity has rela- has resulted in pregnancy, whether the pregnancy was terminated or whether the child was actually born. All right, there are a lot of things connected with that. We don't have, you know, that can be a whole healing unto itself. Okay. All right. And something else I want to deal with real quickly and feel like this is important. Within the collective consciousness, feeling that the safest place is detaching from family. Okay. And so if that's the case, it means that one doesn't feel really safe within their family, which is intended to be a haven of safety and security. But for many, many, many people, that's not the actual experience. Or sometimes it's the experience, but not always. And so we want to address that. And in addressing that, we got to deal with the human ego. The human ego, where a lot of things are taken personally. And we want to fortify everybody to have not walls up, but force fields of love and light. And whatever negativity might be coming in our direction, that it has to pass through the force fields of love and light and be filtered through love and light, so it doesn't have that kind of negative impact on us. And also want to boost up just genuine wisdom in terms of how to deal with things, how to deal with family situations, how to deal with things with family members. Okay. Alrighty. And something I want to deal with right quick too is unresolved issues connected with people who are no longer here in the body. Okay. We still have a relationship with the people who aren't here anymore. They may not be in the physical anymore, but we still have a relationship with them, and there can still be healing in relationships with people who've passed on. Okay, and so I want to deal with. I've got this image of a person who's standing with their feet in their ankles, like on a sidewalk, but in dried cement. Okay, and what that's representing for me is spaces where we're stuck and where we can't move on. We don't necessarily want to be stuck. It doesn't feel good to be stuck, but we don't know how to get unstuck. We don't necessarily have the tools to get unstuck. And if we did, that could even be scary because we don't know if there's going to be injury sustained in the process of getting unstuck. So there being a lot of fear and a lot of negative emotions, uh, even tied to the possibility of becoming free. And so we want to we want to dissolve the root cause of his feet being stuck in the concrete. Okay. And so we're going to kind of go back in time to the place where we walked into the wet concrete. And we might feel like we were led into the wet concrete. We might feel like it wasn't our fault. We might feel like it was somebody else's fault or something else that someone else did to us. And with that, want to address this sense of feeling victimized and feeling like a victim. And we simultaneously honor the challenge and offer healing for a sense of genuine, authentic, true empowerment. And a sense of deep, genuine spiritual maturity, mental and emotional maturity, and certainly spiritual maturity to take full responsibility for healing to happen. Healing within you as an individual, as well as healing in terms of relationships. Okay. All right. So it's just about that time to for us to draw our close. But I would like to hear from you all to hear how you're feeling. We've had several people comment in the chat. Some from Facebook. Um, Actually, I think this is the first time where we've had more people commenting on YouTube than on Facebook. But I'd love to hear from you all, hear what you're feeling, hear how you're feeling regarding your own families, and if there's any specific request. This was kind of a general healing for families in general. If you want some healing, maybe with respect to a particular area, as far as your own individual family is concerned. Um, feel free to reach out to me directly at Royce Fletcher Thomason on Instagram or Royce Fletcher Thomason on Facebook. You can reach me uh, either one of those places. And just know that there's really absolutely nothing that's beyond God's ability to heal, no matter what the level of dysfunction might be or what the level of damage might be, no matter how irreparable it might seem. There's nothing that's beyond God's ability to heal. Now, I will say I'm not saying that there's nothing that's beyond my ability to be able to resolve as a healer. I'm an imperfect vessel. I am a vessel, um, but an imperfect one. I just do the best that I can to get out of my own way for the healing to be able to happen. But what I know for sure is that there's nothing that's beyond God's ability to heal. And no matter what your situation is in your family or within the family of somebody that you love and care about, I want you to know and I want you to truly receive that there is healing that's possible. And I want to encourage you to be open to the possibility, just to the possibility of healing. I'm not asking you necessarily to hold it in your mind that it's definitely going to happen. Certainly not that it's definitely not going to happen. Just want to encourage you to be open to the possibility that's going to happen. Is it possible that things won't happen the way that you want them to? Yes, that's possible. But within the spectrum of all that's possible and the great vastness of infinite possibilities, even if it doesn't seem likely to you, just being open to the possibility that can happen. Okay. You're very welcome, Rasandra. It's certainly my pleasure to do so. All right. And so let's uh let's just do a closing prayer here. God, thank you for all those who showed up today, wanting to participate in greater level of healing for their family and for families in general, if there's anybody who showed up with that intention. I believe that it was with great wisdom that you designed families and you put into play what your vision for families was. And though in our free will, we frequently make decisions that derail us from the divine design that you had set forth. I thank you that healing is still possible, and I thank you for whatever level of healing took place within us today. Thank you for whatever degree any of us is able to move forward in a healthy way. Thank you, God, for restoration. Thank you, God, for redemption. Thank you, God, for a new level of fulfillment that's available, for greater harmony, greater understanding, greater insight, and a freer flowing of that love that is filled with grace. That love that is filled with grace. And for the opportunity to be able to display forgiveness towards ourselves and others. Thank you that you love us enough to want to see us whole in all of our relationships. And I give great thanks for that. I give great thanks for that. And for everybody who is standing in the gap on the behalf of their own families. Thank you for this gift and this outpouring of your love. It is done. It is done. It is done. All right. Well, thank you and many blessings to all of you who are here on today. As you go forth in the rest of your day and your week, I pray that bountiful, bright blessings may manifest themselves in your life to such a degree that your cup is filled to the point of running over and it just oozes on to the folk that you come in contact with, whether physically or virtually. And that it might even be to such a beautiful and profound degree that it spills into the lives of people that you're not even directly communicating with. But guess what? Souls speak to souls. And there are things that happen and there are things that we pick up on within other people and that other people pick on within us that are just communicated on a soul level, that are communicated without words. May we set our intention that what we're communicating from our soul is healing and that is loving and that is extending goodwill, okay, and that is embracing and that is open to and actually manifesting healing and deliverance and well being. All right. So I believe this is something that's valuable and important for us all. And if you're here on this broadcast, then you're the kind of unique kind of soul that feels led to this sort of thing. And if you're such a soul that feels led to this sort of thing, then you're operating at a state where you certainly can be a vessel of healing in your family. And I want to encourage you in that process for whatever that brings up in your life journey and how you're able to be a ministering presence of love and light and in your family and in the families of other people as you might find yourself in counsel sharing with other people as they're bringing their family situations to you. But again, God bless you. I love you. And I send you forth with a bunch of peace and love.